My friends, my fellow Americans, people of the planet Earth, our little spaceship here in deep space. It's Thursday, April 20th, 2017. And if you look at that date in history, a lot of really, really amazing things have happened. Also, a lot of bad things have happened. On April 19th, April 20th, April 21st, historically, is a very critical, dangerous time for whatever reasons. But regardless, every mainline analyst out there is saying the world is in the greatest danger of nuclear war over the Korean Peninsula, South China Sea crisis that we've ever seen. And I've got headlines up on Infowars.com from the London Independent, the Associated Press, you name it. North Korea threatens U.S. with super mighty preemptive strike and warns, don't mess with us. They claim they have the power to hit the United States mainland. They can put it on a ship and bring it over here. They've only got missiles that go 900 kilometers, or about 600 miles. But they have been firing missiles into the South China Sea routinely, right off the coast of Japan. Trump has sent 3 carrier groups, submarine groups with nuclear weapons, conventional weapons. B-52 bombers with nukes have been moved back into Guam. Nuclear weapons have been moved into South Korea again with the U.S. forces there by the demilitarized zone. Russia shares a border with North Korea as well. They've moved troops, tanks, mobile rocket launchers, systems there to deal with the huge tidal wave of refugees that'll happen trying to flee the hellish communist dictatorship if there is a war. China's had a whole bunch of wars with Korea, even before the Korean War, and they got involved in that. They've been threatening Kim Jong-un that they'll nuke him if he does something preemptive. He's saying he's going to detonate an atomic weapon as a test and fire more missiles at Japan. Trump says if he tries to fire more missiles at Japan, there's a good chance he's going to shoot them down, maybe even blow them up on the tarmac, on the gantry, on the launch pad. And they have the technology, obviously, with missiles and lasers and particle beams and special forces on the ground, you name it, to do that. So the big military operation is the South China Sea. We also have the situation, obviously, very, very fluid right now. A lot of special forces folks, including Tim Kennedy, who's re-enlisting in the army to go fight ISIS and Al-Qaeda. So we're going to pray for him and all the soldiers that are doing that great work in Syria. Great work taking out Al-Qaeda and ISIS and other groups. We certainly hope it doesn't turn into an attempt to take out Assad, who didn't start the war. And we just hope Obama gets the mess cleaned up that he's created by President Trump. So I firmly back that military operation as long as that's what it is and it's part of Trump's campaign promise. But now is the time to be praying for this country and the world. All of us that have children especially. This is an incredibly dangerous time. We've had nuclear weapons since the 1940s. They proliferated in the 50s and 60s. More than 14 nations have them. So the question is, can North Korea strike the United States and turn us into ashes, as they say? The answer is no. If they continue to get more advanced missiles from China and U.S. companies that have allowed them to get some technology, they may be able to hit an island of Hawaii. Maybe the closest towards Asia, Kauai, which is the most beautiful island in the world, just from my research. But they could trigger an event with Russia, China, or others that could turn not the United States, but the entire world into a molten slag heap. Russia has thousands of ICBMs with one warhead that could destroy the entire surface area of Texas or France, dubbed by the United States the Satan missile, the Satan bomb. Obviously, we have weapons even bigger. The Air Force admitted in a few briefings about 12 years ago, in the San Francisco Chronicle and others, that they've even developed antimatter weapons. But they can't test them because it's estimated they would destroy the entire solar system, just one of the smaller devices they reportedly have created. Yes, I'm not joking, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not kidding around. They also have singlet weapons. You saw the Star Trek couple back, I forget it's a pretty good one, the new series, where they send that weapon into the core of the Earth on Vulcan, and the whole planet Vulcan implodes in on itself. That's what a singlet will do. I'm not kidding, it's mainstream news. Look it up. They're artificially creating singlets at the Hadron Super Collider. They admit that's their plan. Japan created artificial black holes 20 years ago. MIT did it 20 years ago. I mean, this is the type of stuff going on. The Atlantean moment I talk about, where We have gotten so godlike with our technology, but we're still just these fallen little greedy creatures that, like the legend of Atlantis, we end up destroying ourselves. And whatever happened in the legend of Atlantis, whether it was real or not, Plato said it was real. There was a big island out in the Atlantic. It blew up and there was ashes all over the planet for years. It was cold for years. I mean, how would Plato know what an actual huge explosion would do? Maybe it was a giant meteor or comet hit and they just thought it was some city blowing up. But the point is this earth does go through major calamities. And knowing about it and trying to stop man-made calamities is one of our only hopes to avert this, and taking it very, 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 very seriously. So that's why it's so surreal to be under the biggest attacks we've ever been under at InfoWars, and to see the servile media with just unprecedented lies and deception about us and twisting on every front. And quite frankly, I'm not even really worried about it. I'm worried about it for our crew and my children and others that have to go through the false demonization of the liberty movement. With Google admitting that they put out fake news against us and ordered us delisted and said that we were fake news, and when it got exposed by Cernovich getting the secret documents, they admitted indeed they were doing it and said they're going to stop doing it now. Yeah, right. I've got some news on dehumanization I want to get to as well in a moment. But if you look at these articles and understand how serious it is, notice how they tie together. North Korea threatens U.S. with super mighty preemptive strike and warns don't mess with us. But they're the ones detonating weapons, firing missiles at their neighbors, grabbing fishing boats, occasionally firing artillery across and killing people in South Korea. They're out of control. It's another arrogant, crazy government control freak who only cares about himself. Kim Jong-un, psychology terms get overexpanded and overused, and it's the new priesthood, obviously, that believes it's, the new priest class. But there are some sections of that cosmology that you can, of that world grid, that you can actually look at in reality. See, Kim Jong-un, the ultimate narcissist, completely out of his mind on a power trip. He's a wimp. He can hardly walk. He never did anything. He was given everything. He feeds off his enslaved people. So the starving peasants look way more noble and handsome than he does. He's the biggest joke on the planet. But it's all about him, and if it destroys the world, that's okay. Then the media will come out and attack somebody like myself that actually cares about humanity, has the courage to stand up and the will to try to build things because I believe in the species and have confidence. And they, in the mainstream media, they call that evil, they call that bad, they call that being self-centered, ladies and gentlemen. This is how they invert reality. No, it's MSM that's staring into hell, not into a pool looking at a reflection of themselves, but staring into the abyss and becoming the abyss, running around hired henchmen of the disconnected global corporatists, having no idea what you're even part of. There's an article up on Infowars.com today. It's in Reuters, it's in AP, it's in Wired. There's a bunch of them. Where Zuckerberg, it's come out, doesn't want you to even talk anymore. He wants you to think, and then it types out the stuff on the computer. It's really eye movement and brain waves. That's why I talk about your iPhone and stuff. It's an incredibly amazing tool that can also be used for total control and to track you. Just like you leave it on at night, it has that system that monitors your heart rate, your breathing, everything. That's all going back to the government. Just like I told you 20 years ago that cameras and microphones were, in the computers and TVs, and now it's all admitted. I didn't just imagine that. I had the schematics from engineers that were concerned. It's about 18 years ago, and that really was confirmed. People were calling me 20 years ago about saying they found microphones in their cable boxes, and people didn't believe it. I didn't believe it, and then it just came out. So much of what I do is just cover what's already admitted, and then they hope you're stupid. So look at these articles. North Korea threatens U.S. with super mighty preemptive strike. Threatens, it says they can blow up the mainland U.S. Now that ties in, this London Independent article, with the biggest newspaper in England, the London Guardian, worried about the U.S. being led by a tyrant. So Trump's a tyrant, he wasn't elected, who may destroy the earth. Blame Alex Jones. And Lindy West goes on in this article to say he's a tyrant, to say, which isn't true, to say that he's caused the North Korean crisis, when even mainline analysts and foreign governments and the Russians and the Chinese are saying North Korea is the main problem, but that Trump shouldn't escalate it. Well, we keep appeasing North Korea. The Clintons gave them the nuclear reactors. That's who you blame. Obama and the globalists helped create ISIS and Al-Qaeda and the Caliphate, and Turkey's now fallen to it. And the EU opened up its borders to 5 million migrants. All of this is their doing. And then they sit around and they blame Donald Trump and me. In this article, there's hundreds of articles, literally a day now, saying it's Alex Jones's fault Trump got elected. Because they know how big the audience is, they're blaming you. When they say me, they mean you. And that we're going to destroy the earth, you see. And then they go further. They say Jones is insane or a liar and admits he lied about John Kerry, you got to read this, being naked in a coffin having homosexual sex. I never said that wasn't true. The new thing they do is where they come out and say that people have recanted and said they're frauds when they never said it. Total hoax. They think you're stupid. John Kerry is an admitted member of Skull and Bones. Robert De Niro made a historical film, a nonfiction film based on a true story called The Good Shepherd, about the founding of the CIA out of Skull and Bones at Yale. And in the movie, they're walking around in human feces, and men are peeing on them, and a man is dressed as Satan, the God King Satan. He's a king, not the guy with red horns. That's not how Satanists really see him. They also worship eulogia. It's a bunch of really whacked out stuff. This is all, people broke into there, what was it, like 1906. Charlotte Iserby's father was a member and leaked it all and exposed it. And I'm not saying he was a bad guy, because a lot of guys just did it because it was a fraternity, but that's how they induct you into the higher levels. So it is a fact that they have homosexual sex as the rite of passage. It is a fact they wallow in feces. And it is a fact that they lay in coffins and are reborn. It's like Christians go under water and are reborn, baptism. That is a fact. They had congressional investigations in the 70s off the documents her father leaked to her with Anthony Sutton, the top congressional archivist. Sutton wrote 3 books on the subject. I mean, this is a fact. And it's the same thing. Everything they do in the article is a lie. But imagine, it sounds crazy. Well, Jones finally backed off the lie and said, he just made it all up. Again, this is how they run the trick. Oh, you dressed up in a lizard outfit. You really believe that? I'm like, no, it was a joke. Or, oh, you dressed up as a clown, and that's scary. Is that who you really are? Alex, you told us you're against vaccines, but you dress up as a clown and say, take the vaccines. Yeah, and I say, because they'll make you see colors, kids, and then you'll die. It's called satire. It's called satire. I mean, it actually really freaks me out that it's worked on probably 10% of our audience that actually believes. I mean, they can't be nuanced. Like, here I am, 100% real, standing for what I believe, defeating the globalists with your help, with their entire system attacking us. And then the media, literally every TV station in the country, everybody knows about it. It just keeps saying that I'm a liar. I mean, look right here. Google coming out saying I'm fake news. The documents come out, how they know we're not, that order people to lie about it. And then they have to back off and say, oh, it's just contractors, we're going to stop. I mean, we told you. That's why they hate us, because we get real secret documents. We have the real sources. They know I talk to the people involved with the president. They don't like it. They're freaked out, folks. So let me just go over a few of the things that have come true, that are out in the open, that are admitted. What have we talked about for 22 years that's now all admitted and out in the open? Vaccines killing and hurting people, and the secret government vaccine damage fund that covers it all up now, public, the vaccine inserts admitting they can and will sometimes kill you or cause brain damage, you name it. GMOs, flooding, cross species, mutating our own genes, that's all Scientific American, all confirmed, told you about 20 years ago. Hybrid human animals, chimeras, clone crosses. That was in MIT publications 30 years ago. They already had clones. They just kill them at the embryonic level. They have cross-species splices. Part human, part goat, part human, part pig, part human, part cow. And they do it so they can grow humanoids inside the cow's uteruses, and they're not rejected because they're part cow. Then they harvest those organs, and they're preparing to roll that out publicly and start selling them. Cows that produce human milk, China's had them for 15 years. Just tens of thousands of different splices, chimeras, giant salmon that are 3 times bigger, that are part insect and part asparagus, that are extinct in the normal salmon population. I mean, that's mainstream news. Just everything I say, just search engine it. It's all mainstream news. Told you about it before it came out. Death panels in the Obamacare.